on the beach, wherever we were. The abuse did not stop because we're in the air. 95.
Virginia Giuffre, a name that, for millions, became synonymous with strength, survival, and the pursuit of justice. For years, she stood at the center of one of the most disturbing scandals of our time, the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking ring. And in doing so, she became a fierce warrior, a symbol of courage, and ultimately a tragic reminder of how deep the scars of abuse can go. Today, we remember her life, not just the headlines, but the woman behind them, the survivor, the advocate, the mother, the light for so many others. Virginia Louise Roberts was born on August 9, 1983 in Sacramento, California. Raised primarily in Florida, her early years were marked by a troubled home life. She would later reveal that she was sexually abused by a family friend, an experience that triggered a spiral into instability and despair. By the time she was a teenager, Virginia had already endured more pain than most people experience in a lifetime. Living on the streets, vulnerable and searching for stability, she was precisely the kind of young girl that predators like Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell sought out. She would later say, "I was broken, and they knew it." Virginia's path crossed with Ghislaine Maxwell in the year 2000. Maxwell, a British socialite and the longtime partner of Epstein, offered Virginia what seemed like a chance at a better life, a job, a future, security. But what followed was anything but. Virginia became ensnared in Epstein's elaborate network of abuse. She was groomed, manipulated, and trafficked. Not just to Epstein himself, but to his powerful and well-connected friends. Among those she named was Prince Andrew, Duke of York. She said she was 17 when she was trafficked to the British royal. He denied the allegations, publicly, consistently, but Virginia stood her ground. In the years that followed, Virginia Giuffre became one of the earliest and loudest voices demanding justice. At a time when many were still silent, when the full extent of Epstein's crimes had yet to be revealed, Virginia was speaking out. She told her story again and again, to investigators, to journalists, to survivors, and through her, other victims found their voice. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, it was Virginia's voice, more than anyone else's, that echoed across the world. When Ghislaine Maxwell was brought to trial, Virginia was at the center of the case. And when Prince Andrew's connections to Epstein raised questions that reached the halls of Buckingham Palace, Virginia refused to be intimidated. In 2021, Virginia filed a lawsuit against Prince Andrew, alleging that he sexually abused her on multiple occasions when she was a minor. The case made international headlines. While the Duke of York continued to deny the allegations, he eventually agreed to settle the case out of court. The terms were undisclosed, but it was believed he paid millions in compensation. A statement released at the time said that Prince Andrew regretted his association with Epstein, but did not admit guilt. For Virginia, the settlement was not the end of her fight. She used her platform to push for deeper investigations, more transparency, and real change. She founded an organization called SOAR, Speak Out, Act, Reclaim, to support survivors of sex trafficking. She traveled, she testified, she met with lawmakers and victims groups. She became a vital force in the Me Too movement and an icon of resistance. Virginia once said, "I don't want to be remembered as a victim. I want to be remembered as someone who made a difference." And she did. Behind the scenes, though, her battles never really ended. In recent years, Virginia moved to Western Australia with her husband, Robert, and their 3 children. They settled on a farm in Gabby, north of Perth, seeking peace and privacy after years in the spotlight. But peace, it seems, was difficult to find. In March 2025, she was hospitalized after what she described as a serious car accident, a claim that local police later disputed. At the same time, reports surfaced that her 22-year marriage had ended. She was said to be suffering from renal failure, and photos she posted online showed her frail and in pain. Her family would later say that the physical pain was intense, but the emotional burden, the trauma, was heavier still. On the evening of April 25th, 2025, police were called to Virginia's home in Gabby. She was found unresponsive. She had died by suicide. She was 41 years old. Her family released a statement the following day. She lost her life to suicide. After being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse and sex trafficking, Virginia was a fierce warrior in the fight against sexual abuse. She was the light that lifted so many survivors. In the end, the toll of abuse is so heavy that it became unbearable for Virginia to handle its weight. The news of her death sent shockwaves across the world. Survivors, advocates, journalists, and public figures paid tribute to her life. Social media filled with messages of grief, remembrance, and gratitude. Tributes poured in not just from public figures, but from those whose lives she had touched directly. Her longtime lawyer, Sigrid Macaulay, called her a dear friend and an incredible champion for other victims. Dini von Muffling, her spokesperson, said, "Virginia was one of the most extraordinary human beings I have ever had the honor to know." And her brother, Danny Wilson, said simply, "She pushed so hard to snuff the evil out of the world." In her her final years, Virginia had testified against another accused trafficker, Jean-Luc Brunel, a modeling agent in France who was close to Epstein. She looked him in the eye, told her truth, and demanded accountability. Brunel later died by suicide in prison. Her words after that testimony still echo today. "I wanted him to know that he no longer had power over me," she said, "that I am a grown woman now, and I've decided to hold him accountable." Virginia Giuffre's life was not defined by the men who tried to silence her. It was defined by her refusal to be silenced. She was a survivor who became a leader. She was a victim who became a voice. And she was a woman who bore more than any human should ever have to bear, and still chose to speak, still chose to fight. We honor her not just for what she endured, but for what she did with that pain, for the truth she exposed, for the lives she changed, for the justice she sought. In Virginia's own words, "Take us seriously. We matter. Yes, Virginia, you mattered. You still do, and you always will."